Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the Kimbia and KLRU webinar. KLRU makes the leap to online pledge drive, a story of nonprofit peer-to-peer success. A little bit of housekeeping before we get going here. Number one is you as the audience are on mute throughout the presentation, but we welcome your questions. So please use the question module on your GoToWebinar control panel to ask us any questions as we go along. There will be a Q&A at the end, and hopefully we'll have time to answer as many of your questions as we can. Also, that is a great box to use if you are having any technical difficulties, can't hear us, just let us know. You will also be receiving a copy of this presentation via email after the presentation ends, as well as a copy of the case study. We encourage you to tweet if you are on social media. You can tweet or use the hashtag on Facebook as well, Kimbia Webinars. We'll also share some of our personal Twitter info and ways to contact us as we go along. So with that, we are going to get started. First, the speakers. We are very, very delighted and grateful to have with us Susanna Winslow, Membership Director of KLRU, which is the local Austin PBS station. And Susanna, would you like to tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Hi, everybody. As Miriam said, my name is Susanna Winslow. I've been with KLRU for about 8 years in the development department, fundraising side. So I've been around for a lot of campaigns that we've done here, but have been really excited to start to change the way we do things and use the online realm a lot more in our fundraising efforts. So I'm delighted to be here and to be able to share a little bit about that with all of you.
Great, thank you, Susanna. And this is Miriam Kagan. I am a senior principal here at Kimbia, and I focus on client strategies to make sure that our clients can match their program and campaign goals with our technology for ever-increasing campaign results. In terms of our agenda for today, we're going to tell you a little bit about who Kimbia is if you're not familiar, and of course about KLRU here in Austin. Then we're going to actually walk you through the case study of how KLRU plunged into peer-to-peer space as part of their membership fundraising drives and how amazingly well that went for them. We are going to take some questions. Again, think of questions as we go. Feel free to use the question box to ask us questions. We'll get to as many as we can. And then we'll talk about some next steps, including how to contact us if you're interested. So the first thing I'm going to do is very briefly tell you about who Kimbia is and what we do. I know we really all want to get to the meat of this, which is the case study. So Kimbia is the global leader in crowdfunding days for nonprofits. We've been around since 2007, and since then, via our direct campaigns, crowdfunding events, peer-to-peer, event registrations, we've helped over 19,000 nonprofits. We also host 7 out of the 10 largest crowdfunding events. There's a box here that shows you some of the awesome things that we have as part of our technology. I think most importantly, what we really focus on is the patented widget technology, which means that with one line of code, you can have secure donation and other forms embedded in your sites that are easy for your donors and supporters to use. As I mentioned, we are not just about giving days. We also do online fundraising, event registration, peer-to-peer, which we'll be talking about today, and custom forms. You'll see on the right-hand side, there's some screenshots of what we've done. To me, the most important one on those screenshots is the one on the cell phone. All of our forms are natively mobile-friendly. They conform to your code, so if your code is mobile-friendly, so are we. And as we all know, mobile is increasingly important. We're seeing up to, we just had a giving day where 60% of the traffic came from mobile phones and tablets. So again, it's a key part of our technology. And finally, these are some of the call-outs of why we're best of breed. On this slide, I like to point to the section about the multi-currency and multi-language. So not only do we have forms in all sorts of languages so that you see a field that says, you know, your first name in the language of your choosing, but we can also process in that currency. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Susanna to tell us about what we're really focusing on here today, which is KLRU.
Sure. So KLRU, we are the community-supported public television station here in Austin and the Central Texas community. We've been around for over 50 years. You can kind of see our vision and our mission, but we do bring a lot of public television favorite shows such as Antiques Roadshow, Masterpiece Theater, the final season of Downton Abbey that's coming up. So we're proud to be the presenter of educational, entertaining, and inspiring programming to the Central Texas community. And as you can see, we've been with Kimbia for a long time. Since they started back in 2007, we've been working with them as, you know, them being a local business here in Austin. That was someone we immediately reached out to improve our donation forms online and help us, especially around our pledge drives. We offer a lot of thank you gifts during pledge drives, and Kimbia was the easiest and most flexible format for us to be able to manage our really large fundraising campaigns that we do 4 times a year. So you can see this is just one example of the way we use Kimbia on our main donate page for the ease and the flexibility for user use to just put in their information and donate in one click.
Yeah, and the great thing here is that this is just one example of how flexible Kimbia forms are. This isn't necessarily our standard form format. This was all done with CSS using the Kimbia widget. And for those of you that might want to check this out after the phone call, just go to KLRU.org, hit donate in the top nav bar, and this will appear from above on your home screen. So again, not necessarily the way everyone has to use it, but a very innovative way of using the flexibility of Kimbia forms. So, Suzanne, do you want to tell us about the challenge and why you guys decided to try peer-to-peer as part of your membership guide?
Absolutely. So for many years, we've done a viewer survey out to our members and our donors and you know, our viewers in the community. And for many years, we've gotten a lot of feedback about our pledge drives and, you know, how disruptive they can be to regular programming at times. And so we really wanted to listen to that viewer feedback and come up with another way that was a little bit less intrusive for our viewers to raise the dollars we needed to continue to provide the programming that they love. So if we couldn't do it on air, you know, per se, our immediate thought was to look to the digital realm. And so let's see what we could do online to bring in those dollars and do something different because across the board, the PBS system, you know, is very reliant on on-air pledge drives and on-air fundraising. But we have seen a decline in most, you know, more recent years in some of the dollars coming in that way. So we really wanted to look for a new way, and then thinking about peer-to-peer and the fact that the way you reach a new audience online is going to be through peer-to-peer, you know, expanding your network out through the networks of the people you're connected to. So, so it was very exciting to think about taking it in the online realm, and that's what we decided to do for our fundraising drive last June. So the solution was your KLRU, as you can see. So go ahead, Miriam, were you going to say something?
No, I was just going to say, so you guys came up with a great solution.
Yeah, so we, you know, if we're going online, you know, we wanted to build it around a hashtag to be very social and to allow for fundraisers and the community to be able to share out and let people know we were doing this campaign. So with that, we decided, you know, to use crowdfunding techniques around social media, email campaigns, and really the use of urgency and incentive. So we kind of combined peer-to-peer with Giving Day style campaign. And although it wasn't one day, we did a 5-day giving drive with a goal of $50,000 in 5 days and tried to make it really a social engagement event online.
And this is what that looked like. So I'll let Susanna walk you through some of the thoughts behind this, but in terms of the Kimbia template part of this, I just wanted to point out a couple of things here. So peer-to-peer doesn't have to be very complicated or time-intensive to use. As you'll notice on here, to sign up to become a fundraiser for KLRU's campaign, you needed to fill out a whopping 3 pieces of information: your first name, your last name, and your email address. That was it. You were good to go, and you were set up with your own personal fundraising page and your own center where you could do things like see how much money you had raised, enter offline gifts, change your goal if you wanted to. You can also see that this is another Kimbia widget, the progress bar, and Susanna will tell you more about just how successful a campaign this was. As you can see from the progress, they more than beat their expectations. And of course, peer-to-peer fundraising relies on all sorts of kind of incentives and competition and showing off how well you're doing. So there was another widget here that lists the top fundraisers. Another thing I just want to draw your attention to very quickly is that there's this donate button right here. If you clicked on that, you would just see a general donation form. There are some folks who didn't want to fundraise for this campaign. They just wanted to give directly, and they were able to click here and do so very easily throughout the giving campaign. So that is just some of the aspects of the technology. Stan, do you want to tell us a little bit more, if you have anything to add about how this worked for you guys and how you set it up?
Yeah, absolutely. So I will say what Miriam was talking about, the first name, last name, and email to sign up to be a personal fundraiser. I went out to recruit people to be fundraisers. So I went to our board meeting. I went to our community advisory board meeting. We met with a group of volunteers and really being able to show them how easy it was for them to sign up, that we just needed 3 pieces of information, sealed the deal for a lot of them. It was like, oh, that's all I have to do, and then I have a link that I can just send out really quickly. That really helped them decide to come on board and be a fundraiser, because they knew it wasn't going to be a huge time commitment, especially with us giving them a toolkit with messaging that they could use as well. So that flexibility and that ease of use was a really big advantage for our fundraisers. The top fundraiser widget there was a lot of fun too. We had a kind of a chat group on Facebook with our fundraisers, and you could see them talking about, so-and-so is up ahead of me. That means I need to do some more pushing. So it was another fun way for all of our fundraisers to know where they were as well. And then the goal progress bar was awesome. We continue to use that in all of our campaigns now because we really feel it made such a big difference. Just see where you are. And of course, I was worried, well, once we hit our goal, that's going to look like no one's going to want to give. But actually, it's almost like once it doesn't do what you think it will do and stop the progress of the campaign, but it actually keeps boosting it. So you'll be able to see, we hit our goal, and then we set stretch goals, and we hit those, and we ended up over 89% above our original goal of $50,000, which was very exciting. So.
And Susanna, if I recall correctly from our early discussions, we had talked about, can we try to push to meet your goal before the campaign kind of officially hits into its campaign, to see if we can say, hey, look at this in pre-giving. We already got to this number. Now give some more. And I think that's why we stretched it out into a couple more days. Am I recalling correctly from some of those conversations?
Yeah, we did have a couple of challenge matches as well, already secured beforehand. So, we really tried, especially with it being the first time we were trying to do something new. We wanted to shore up as many of those dollars up front that we could. So we were close to about, over half of our goal when we started. And then, once we started, it just took off.
That's great. So as Susanna has been mentioning, and she'll talk us through this a little bit, as we all know, peer-to-peer isn't just build it and they will come. It's not just about putting up the page and waiting for fundraisers to magically find you and magically start fundraising on your behalf. As with any fundraising campaign and outreach campaign, there's a lot of components that go into promoting the campaign that you've built and promoting maybe the technology that you've built and recruiting people to not only support you, but to keep supporting you to reach their goals. So as Susanna had started mentioning, there were 3 key areas that KLRU focused on to make sure that they recruited folks, kept them motivated, and reached their goals. Susanna, you want to walk us through these things?
Yeah, so we did obviously a lot of email messaging around it, and really kind of focused on that sense of urgency and trying something new. We tried to be, throughout the whole campaign, very transparent in our messaging and why we were doing this, and that it was a response from viewer feedback, and we are trying to transform the way we fundraise, which I think really resonated with people and was a large reason why the community really did embrace this campaign, and it was such a success. So through, even through email and recruiting those fundraisers and social media, we also use that same type of message and consistency of messaging about why we were doing this and how important it was for this campaign to succeed. Social media, we were out there pushing as well. We really tried to build the social media encourage our fundraisers to get out there and share photos and share why they love KLRU. You know, part of the whole hashtag campaign was tell us why we are your KLRU. So whether that came from a fundraiser or we encouraged anyone through social media to share that with us. So one element to the social media that we did during this campaign was we used Periscope for the first time, the live streaming app through Twitter, associated with Twitter. It was our first time to really use that platform on social media, and we took the opportunity to use it as a, we're your KLRU, so let's give you a behind-the-scenes look. So we had our Vice President of Production go up on the roof with an engineer and talk about the satellite and how the signal is sent out and how you actually get our channel on your television. And we also did a behind the scenes with some editors of Arts in Context, our local art show, and gave people a sneak peek. So it was a lot of fun to really just use social media to engage people and try to reach a new audience. And incentives, we did giveaways throughout the whole campaign. The first time we were really doing this, I wanted to try to keep momentum going, knowing it was going to be 5 days instead of 1 day. So we did, kind of hourly giveaways, chunks of hourly giveaways. So maybe anyone who donates in the next 2 hours could, win a pair of passes to see Austin City Limits or a KLRU t-shirt, to really make the campaign fun and engaging for people. As well as providing special incentives for those fundraisers as well. The first person to raise $500 for the campaign, gets this, So it really kind of kept the momentum of the campaign going, which I feel is really important when you're doing these online campaigns.
And I think that's a really key thing that you just said there. I'm so glad you said that. The incentives are important, not just for donors, but as Susanna said, for the fundraiser. So she mentioned there was an incentive for the first person that raised $500. Those are the folks that are working really, really hard for you, probably harder than your actual donors, and you got to keep them motivated. Just having them see the competitive element that, maybe Susanna raised more money than me isn't enough. Having that extra reason for them to really go the extra mile by getting something from the organization that they're really committed to, or by potentially having their money doubled, is a great way to keep them motivated. So now that Susanna told you all about all the great things that they did to make this a successful campaign, and here's just some examples of the wonderful stuff that happened on social media with the hashtag YourKLRU. We're going to talk about, and Susanna, I think that because this was your campaign, I'll let you do the honors, just how well this campaign did for you guys.
Sure. So we reached our goal on the third day. We'd raised our $50,000 by the third day with 2 more to go. So we set a stretch goal of $75,000, and we met that the next day. So on the final day, we set a stretch goal of $80,000, and when I woke up Saturday morning, we'd surpassed $94,000, which was very, very exciting to see that those donations just kept rolling in after midnight as well. One of the other results we saw from this, and taking a look at who these donors were, is a lot of them, compared to a regular on-air campaign, which is about 30% new donors to us. We still had about 28% new donors, but a vast majority of them were additional gifts to the station. So we really feel that the donor retention increased because these were people who had donated to us before and were coming back to us to say, we support you in this effort and this kind of fundraising campaign. We also saw that our net revenue increased significantly over an on-air drive. We were not having to pay as much for thank you gifts to send out. So our net revenue was about 89% of the total drive revenue, which was 13% higher than our last June drive, which was on air. But we raised, in the on-air drive, we raised total revenue was much higher than what we raised, but we were keeping more of it. So in that way, we were able to see that we were the cost to raise a dollar, really went down for us with this campaign, and more of the dollars that came to the station stayed with the station, which was very exciting.
So one of the things that I think was interesting for you guys to find out is afterwards you mentioned you did the survey and we worked on that together. And the reason I'm leading you into this is that I just had the same discussion this morning talking about peer-to-peer with somebody who said, well, is that just going to appeal to millennials or younger people? You know, our current file are older folks. They've been volunteering with us and giving to us for years. If we add a peer-to-peer element to our campaign, will it work with our current donors? And I think the insights that you're about to share with us, I was really excited to actually tell this client, well, guess what? I'm just today going to be working on a case study with Susanna from KLRU, where the data showed that, in fact, peer-to-peer does not generationally discriminate in terms of who participates and how they like to use it. So with that, Susanna, do you want to talk us through what you guys found in your post-event survey?
Sure, absolutely. So we did a survey afterwards out to the donors, asking, trying to get some insight of who they were and why they gave. And it was really exciting to see that, the average age of over half the donors was over 65. And that's the PBS average donor is 60, 65 plus. So we knew it was exciting to see that who gave to this campaign actually is our donor base, because there was, a lot of thoughts across the system that, our donors are older, so they're not going to give this way and they're not going to give online. And, for me, I've been able to go to other PBS stations and say, you know what, it doesn't mean just because they're in their 60s they're not using the same technology that all of us are. So that was definitely very exciting to see.
Oh.
Did we switch slides?
Yes, I accidentally went the wrong way. I'm sorry.
That's all right. So it was really exciting to see that. We tap into a younger audience? I believe we did. We saw there was evidence that we did reach a younger audience in this as well, but the vast majority was our core donor base. And for the PBS system, that was very exciting for us to be able to present to other stations to say, we may be in Austin and you think we're young and we're hip and we're techie, but you know what? We just did an online campaign and they were 65 plus giving to us. So, another insight from this campaign was that social media really works for peer-to-peer. So 24% of the total revenue via Facebook, the advocates raised 24% of the total revenue via Facebook. And so that was super exciting that, peer-to-peer, the easiest way for them to share out is through Facebook, and it actually does get, people donating and giving that way. So, it was just exciting to see what peer-to-peer could do and how it could really help us increase our net revenue and help us increase, the fundraising dollars we're bringing in a new way.
So here's one of the reasons, folks might be wondering, hey, what was it about Kimbia? And granted, as Susanna mentioned, we had already been working together for many years on general donation forms. But I wanted to run you guys through a couple of reasons about the technology for Kimbia. I had kind of talked about this in the beginning, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this. We have another insight slide to go to with more information from the survey. But, we are the industry leader in Giving Day, and as such, in Giving Days and other fundraising campaigns, and as such, we have a long history of learning and evolving and knowing what's working and what's not. And really can help advise our clients on that and also build it into that technology. As you saw on the registration page, you can register, for example, in 3 steps. One of the things that I think we've all learned over the years being in the event and peer-to-peer space is that the longer a registration process is, the more people give up, throw their hands up in the air and say, no, thank you. So that's why one of the core aspects of our peer-to-peer technology is how easy it is to register. And also, on the back end, we have a pretty robust suite of expert services and support. In Susanna's team's case, they had a wonderful team in place. They knew what they were doing. Even though this was their first year, they had a lot of great ideas. So we spent a little bit of time up front talking about some best practices, and then we kind of handed it over to you guys, and you did a great job, as we all saw from the results. But, for other clients who might need a little bit more hands-on support, we provide that as well. Oh my goodness, I just keep, I know I already kind of introduced the post-campaign survey and talked a little bit about the demographic part of it. But Susanna, if you want to maybe talk to us a little bit about the other points of this, how email was pretty effective for you guys, and donor
Yes.
support. What else you guys learned from the survey?
Yeah, email was a huge driver of donations. So having that email content promotion marketing plan was really important. We spent, quite a bit of time before the campaign started really mapping out the emails and the messaging and what we were saying and how many times we were going to hit them. So we did do an email every day, and we made sure to map out the content and what we were saying in that. But we did, of course, allow for flexibility because, before the campaign started, we didn't know how things were going to go. And then once it rolled out and we started, we hit our goal and then we exceeded it and we continued to move, that messaging had to change a little bit. So we allowed for flexibility within that, but really kind of planning ahead and making sure that messaging is then matching what you're pushing out on social was really, really important as well. And then one of the other things that came out of the survey was really, as I mentioned before, that the Austin and Central Texas community really embraced this new direction and this new way of fundraising. It was the #1 reason people said that they gave to this campaign, is that they wanted to support us in trying to change the way we fundraise so it wouldn't be as disruptive to them and they could continue to watch the shows that they liked. So those were all good things to know and all good things for us to share out, especially with other PBS stations.
And this is, Susanna, this is what your current donation path looks like. So if you are not on the homepage, where you see the donation forms, you click donate. As you can see, KLRU has a lot of ways for folks to get involved. And my understanding is you guys plan to add and continue evolving how this works for your donors and supporters. Is that right?
Absolutely. We're still, there's so many ways to give to a PBS station, and so we're still trying to hammer out the best routes for donors to come to our site and be able to give the way they want to give. So it's definitely an evolving beast that we continue to work on, but it's exciting. So.
And some items about looking forward. These are some of the things that we all talked about after, we saw how the campaign went and ways to integrate it. I think that as we all talked about going into this process, we weren't looking to necessarily replace all on-air drives with peer-to-peer campaigns. That's never going to be realistic, and also it's not an either-or scenario. It's not either you have on-air drives or peer-to-peer. So some of the things we've talked about, I think you guys are already planning some of these, is to supplement the next on-air drive with peer-to-peer. And to maybe test minimizing on-air drive time by raising equivalent funds via peer-to-peer ahead of time. So, if we can raise $50,000 online, we'll shorten our on-air drive by, say, 1 day. We can recruit new donors and non-donors to become more engaged constituents. So instead of that just transactional relationship, I give you my membership fee once a year of $100, I get my gift. If they can become fundraisers for you and reach into their networks, then you have a deeper relationship with your peer-to-peer folks. And also to test how incentives work in other channels other than on air, and what incentives might work. And as I mentioned, Susanna, I think you guys already have plans to do some of these things in the near future.
Absolutely. So we're looking out, our next big on-air drive is in December, and Giving Tuesday falls right in our on-air drive. So we are incorporating Giving Tuesday as an opportunity to do a peer-to-peer campaign. So we are furiously working right now to get all of that in order and get some fundraisers recruited here by the beginning of November to join us in another peer-to-peer campaign for Giving Tuesday for our December drive.
Great. So that was our presentation. We're going to take some questions now. We have a couple here. Again, this would be a great time to start putting questions into the question box. We have 3 questions already. While I bring those up, just as next steps, check your inboxes for the slides. You'll get an email with the slides, a recording of the webinar, and a downloadable KLRU case study. Also, if you would like more information about what KLRU did and how, or more information about Kimbia and what we can do for you, here's some of our contact information. So I'm going to start with a question from Erica. Erica has a couple of questions. I guess I'll break them into a couple of pieces. First is, how did you first promote the campaign? Emails, on-air spots, social media, all of the above?
All of the above. So, you know, we started promoting a month out and immediately started using the hashtag on social media. You know, we got, as you saw from the pictures, you know, we got a physical hashtag we took out into the community and at PBS events and really tried to start, you know, using it a lot so people were starting to recognize it and being like, what is this, your KLRU thing? You know, get that buzz going around it. We did save the date emails. We did a save the date postcard we sent to some of our donors that maybe we didn't have an email address for, but they are on our file and they do support us. So let's let them know about it as well. And then, you know, as a TV station, we did have some on-air spots. So we started doing some, you know, 30-second on-air spots to just say, this is what we're going to do this June and be aware.
Great, thank you, Susanna. And the second part of that question was, why did you choose 5 days as opposed to one, like, for example, Giving Tuesday or a month-long campaign?
I would say that mostly had to do with how we do an on-air drive. So most of most of our drives are about 14 to 17 days long. And June, typically for us in the past, has been about a week long. It's been a drive that we do more experimental things around. You know, we try to, because it's not such a large campaign with a huge dollar amount on it, it's always been a little bit shorter. And I think that's kind of how it evolved was, well, let's just do a 5-day Monday through Friday campaign because we can specifically talk about not taking off their favorite primetime shows, because that's, you know, that's kind of where the issue for a lot of our viewers is you take out Antiques Roadshow and you replace it with a special pledge fundraising show, or you take out Nova or Nature or all their favorite shows. So we wanted to be able to promote that all of your favorite shows are going to be here Monday through Friday, and we're not going to interrupt them and we're not going to break into them. And so we're asking you to give online. So that's kind of where 5 days came from.
Great. And then we have 2 questions from Mike. Question 1, I think, is for you. Oh, and Erica just said thank you, Susanna. How far in advance did you start marketing to your audience to convert them into peer-to-peer fundraisers from the general donors that or supporters that they were on your file? So when did you start kind of sending out those, hey, become a fundraiser emails?
Yeah, we had a quick turnaround for this campaign. I wish we had had a little bit more time, but how it works in PBS, if you're not in one pledge drive, then you're preparing for the next one, you know, and that's kind of how this had come about. So we probably started about 3 weeks before the campaign actually launched. I wish we'd had a little bit more time than that to reach out to some of those fundraisers, but we still got a total of 39 people to sign up, which I was very, very pleased with, and 27 actively participated and fundraised money for us. So that was really good results for me, considering, you know, 3 weeks before was when we were trying to get these people on board.
Great. The second question from Mike, and I think that's more for me, how can I find out if my if my nonprofit would be a good fit for a peer-to-peer campaign? It's a great question. I think one of the best things to do is to reach out to Kimbia and tell us a little bit about who you are and your mission and how you're fundraising today. And then we can talk you through whether or not peer-to-peer is right for you. In most cases, I would say yes. And in most cases, folks can certainly dip their toe in the water with relatively little effort, or at least not as much effort as it might take to do something like set up an actual event, like a race. So just feel free to email us. Our contact information is up here. You can also go to our website and fill out a form there, and we'll get in touch with you. So it looks like, oh, I have another question here that I can see. Okay, we have a question from Dominique, and Susanna, I don't know if you guys have all of this information, so if you don't, it's okay. There's a couple of different questions in one question. The first part of that question is, do you know where most of your peer-to-peer fundraisers came from? As in, were they previous donors who had given to you before, or new donors? And it sounds like, I think you had mentioned earlier in the presentation that you found that about something like over 70% were prior donors.
Yeah, so a lot of them, you know, I think the best way we were able to recruit fundraisers was actually going and speaking to a group. So, you know, we had a couple board members come on. Our community advisory board is a pretty, large group of people. They don't all financially support us, but they all are very engaged with the station and support us in volunteer ways. And so they were a huge group that really, grabbed onto this campaign and became fundraisers for us. We also reached into a young professionals group that we have here at the station. So I would say a majority of them were already, if not giving to us, engaged with us in a big way. They know us, they come to events. And then, so I feel like we knew a lot of who those fundraisers were. And that's kind of the first step is going to those closest to you to ask them to fundraise on your behalf,
And I think that probably goes into the second part of Dominique's question, which was are there any different groups that you plan to target in the future in addition to the folks that you targeted this time around?
Yeah, we're going to reach out to, we had reached out to our volunteer group. So a lot of, with an on-air drive, the volunteer base comes in and answers telephones for us to take those donations. And with not doing an on-air drive, we didn't provide that opportunity for the volunteers. So that is one group we reached out to. We sent them an email, but we didn't get a lot of conversion. A lot of them didn't come on board. But what I anticipate in the future is being able to really reach out to that group, maybe bring them into the station and talk to them, kind of like we did with board members and community advisory board members, because really making that presentation and showing them and making them feel a part of the campaign, I think really helps people decide to come on board. So that's kind of what I'm looking to for the next time we do this.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Susanna, and thank you everyone for joining us today. As I mentioned, you are going to receive a copy of all of this information and a case study. Keep checking out for your email for other Kimbia webinars that might be coming up. Thanks again for the great questions today, and thank you so much to Susanna again for taking the time to talk us through everything you guys did on your successful campaign. With that,
well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Great. Thank you. With that, we are going to end the webinar. Thanks again, everybody, and feel free to contact us if you have any questions.